It was supposed to be an ordinary afternoon, the kind people forget before the sun even sets. But one small act of kindness at a crowded train station would change two broken families forever. A man who believed he had nothing left to give surrendered the very last train ticket to a desperate stranger carrying nothing but a faded backpack and fear in her eyes. By sunset, he would lose his own journey, walk into a home he had never seen, and discover that sometimes the greatest destination in life is the place you never planned to reach. If you believe kindness always finds its way back, if you believe in forgiveness, hope, and second chances, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to our channel so our community can continue sharing stories that remind us how powerful compassion can be. Caleb Mercer had stopped expecting good things from life long before that afternoon. At 38, he carried himself with the quiet exhaustion of someone who had learned to survive disappointment without complaining about it. His marriage had ended 3 years earlier, his father had passed away the following spring, and the small construction company he had worked for since his early 20s had closed after its owner retired. None of those losses had broken him individually, but together they had slowly emptied the joy from his life. He had recently accepted an interview in another city, hoping a fresh beginning might finally silence the feeling that he was simply drifting through one disappointing season after another. The station overflowed with travelers after mechanical problems had cancelled several earlier departures. Families crowded the platforms, students clutched heavy backpacks, elderly couples leaned on each other while scanning departure boards, and impatient commuters argued with ticket agents who had long since run out of answers. Caleb waited patiently in line until, after nearly an hour, he finally reached the window. There was only one seat remaining on the afternoon train. He purchased it with relief, tucked the ticket safely into his wallet, and turned toward the platform. Only a few steps away, he noticed a young woman desperately pleading with another ticket clerk. She wasn't angry. She wasn't demanding special treatment. She simply looked frightened. Her voice trembled while she explained that her grandmother had suffered a medical emergency earlier that morning and that she had spent every dollar she had traveling across town after receiving the call. Every seat had sold out before she reached the station. The next available departure wouldn't leave until the following morning. Most people nearby looked away. Some pretended not to hear. Others quietly shook their heads before continuing toward their own trains. Caleb started walking. Then he stopped. He remembered sitting beside his father's hospital bed years earlier, praying for just a little more time. He remembered wishing strangers would somehow make impossible things possible. That memory refused to let him continue. Without allowing himself enough time to reconsider, he walked back toward the woman, removed the ticket from his wallet, and gently placed it in her hand. She stared at him in complete disbelief. Her name, he soon learned, was Brielle Donovan. Tears filled her eyes before she could even find words to thank him. She insisted she couldn't accept such an enormous sacrifice, but Caleb simply smiled with a kindness he hadn't felt in years and assured her another opportunity would come along for him. As the train departed carrying Brielle toward her grandmother, Caleb watched it disappear around the curve. His interview was gone. His carefully planned future disappeared with it. Oddly, he didn't feel regret. For the first time in months, he felt strangely peaceful. When he turned toward the station exit, an employee hurried after him carrying a message. Brielle had spoken with the conductor before departure. Her family refused to let the man who had saved her journey spend the evening alone. They had sent their address with instructions that someone would pick him up from the station. Since there would be no trains until the following afternoon, they wanted him to stay with them. Caleb almost declined. Accepting kindness had always been harder than giving it. But after several moments of hesitation, curiosity overcame pride. A cheerful middle-aged farmer named Graham Donovan arrived in an aging pickup truck with a smile so genuine it immediately eased Caleb's uncertainty. During the short drive through rolling countryside, Graham spoke warmly about his family, explaining that Brielle had been helping care for her elderly grandmother ever since her parents passed away several years earlier. Life had become difficult, but they never stopped believing that good people still existed. Their farmhouse stood among wide green fields filled with wildflowers dancing beneath the afternoon breeze. It wasn't large or luxurious, but every corner reflected years of love. The front porch held handmade rocking chairs. Flower boxes overflowed with bright colors. Children's drawings decorated the kitchen walls even though the youngest child in the family had grown up years before. Caleb felt something unfamiliar the moment he stepped inside. Peace. Brielle's grandmother, Eleanor, had returned safely after receiving treatment and was recovering comfortably at home. She insisted on meeting the man responsible for bringing her granddaughter to her bedside in time. Although weak, Eleanor embraced Caleb with surprising strength. She told him that kindness always travels farther than the person who gives it. Those words stayed with him long after she released his hand. The afternoon unfolded in ways Caleb never could have imagined. Instead of spending lonely hours regretting his missed opportunity, he found himself helping Graham repair an old wooden fence that bordered the family orchard. He laughed with Brielle's younger cousins as they raced through rows of apple trees. He joined everyone around a long outdoor table where homemade food seemed endless and every chair remained open for unexpected guests. No one treated him like a stranger. They treated him like someone who had always belonged there. As conversations drifted from memories to dreams, Caleb slowly admitted how empty his own life had become. He confessed that after losing his marriage and career, he had forgotten what it felt like to matter to anyone. He admitted he had nearly convinced himself that kindness no longer changed anything in today's world. Eleanor quietly listened before sharing a story from her youth. Decades earlier, she and her late husband had once been stranded after their car broke down on a lonely country road. A farmer they had never met welcomed them into his home, repaired their vehicle without charging a single dollar, and told them the only payment he wanted was for them to help someone else whenever they had the chance. That single afternoon had shaped the values of 4 generations of the Donovan family. Now Caleb's train ticket had become another chapter in the same tradition. The realization overwhelmed him. One compassionate decision had connected lives across decades without anyone planning it. Later that afternoon, Graham received an unexpected phone call from a longtime friend who managed several regional construction projects. One of his site supervisors had retired suddenly, leaving an important position vacant. Graham mentioned Caleb's experience almost casually while thanking fate for bringing him to the farmhouse. Within an hour, Caleb received an invitation to interview the very next morning. The opportunity offered better pay, greater stability, and would allow him to remain close enough to visit the Donovan family regularly if he wished. It felt almost unbelievable. The interview the following day went remarkably well. Rather than focusing only on technical qualifications, the company owner asked Caleb about the unusual story Graham had shared. When Caleb modestly dismissed his own actions as nothing extraordinary, the owner smiled. He explained that skills could be taught, but character could not. Someone willing to sacrifice his own future to help a stranger was exactly the kind of leader he wanted guiding his crews. Caleb walked out with a job offer before lunchtime. Yet the greatest change wasn't his new career. It was what happened inside his heart. Over the following months, he visited the Donovan farmhouse nearly every weekend. Sometimes he helped repair barns. Sometimes he brought groceries for Eleanor. Other weekends he simply joined family meals where laughter echoed across the fields. The loneliness that had once followed him everywhere gradually disappeared. Brielle also experienced unexpected healing. For years she had carried guilt over believing she hadn't done enough for her parents before they passed away. Watching Caleb choose kindness without expecting anything in return reminded her that love isn't measured by perfect outcomes but by sincere intentions. She returned to college, determined to become a physical therapist so she could help families facing medical hardships like her own. Eleanor's health slowly improved as well. She often said that hope had become the best medicine in her recovery. Nearly a year after that unforgettable afternoon, the train station held a community fundraiser supporting travelers facing emergency situations. Inspired by Caleb's story, volunteers created a fund to purchase transportation for people dealing with unexpected family crises. Hundreds attended. Many shared stories of strangers whose kindness had changed their lives. Caleb stood quietly near the back, uncomfortable with attention, until Eleanor gently called him forward. She reminded everyone that heroes rarely wear uniforms or stand on stages. Sometimes they simply surrender the last train ticket. The crowd applauded, but Caleb knew the applause belonged to something much larger than himself. It belonged to every unseen act of compassion that quietly transforms lives every single day. As the event ended beneath the warm afternoon sun, Caleb reflected on the interview he had once believed was the most important opportunity of his life. Missing that train had felt like failure. Instead, it had carried him towards something infinitely greater. He had gained a career built on respect rather than desperation. He had discovered friendships stronger than convenience. He had found a family who chose him long before he understood how desperately he needed one. Most importantly, he had remembered the person he used to be before grief convinced him the world no longer deserved his kindness. Before we reach the end of this story, we'd love to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a moment when a stranger's kindness completely changed your life, or have you been able to change someone else's day with a simple act of compassion? Leave a meaningful comment below because your story may become the encouragement someone else desperately needs today. Several years later, visitors to the little country station sometimes noticed a framed photograph hanging beside the ticket counter. It showed a smiling group gathered outside the Donovan farmhouse under bright afternoon skies. Beneath the picture was a simple sentence that every traveler paused to read. Kindness always arrives before its reward. Caleb smiled every time he saw it, not because it celebrated him, but because it reminded everyone passing through that no act of generosity is ever truly lost. A surrendered ticket had become a new beginning. A missed journey had led him home. And one ordinary afternoon had proven that the greatest miracles often arrive disguised as small sacrifices. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. May this story remind you that even the smallest act of kindness can echo through countless lives, bringing hope where there was despair, healing where there was pain, and family where there were once only strangers.